Introduction: the new Green leader Zack Polanski used his first conference speech in Bournemouth to push for a bolder, louder Green Party, with the party trying to move from protest movement to parliamentary force. Polanski aimed to grab attention, sharpen contrasts with Labour and Reform UK, and stake out positions on migration, Gaza, inequality and rights. The speech got column inches and sparked an immediate response from Labour. Here's a concise walkthrough of what he said, why it matters, and the questions it raises. Who is Zack Polanski? Polanski was elected leader of the Green Party last month. He arrives with a clear goal: grow the Greens beyond single-issue protest and into a viable parliamentary alternative. Bournemouth was the stage for his first address in that new role. What he said, the headlines on Labour and Reform: Polanski accused Labour of following Reform UK on migration and civil liberties, declaring Labour are the handmaidens of Reform. He argued that Keir Starmer's approach tightens freedoms while sidelining the climate crisis, and suggested the Greens could rocket through the polls like Reform, but offering hope instead of despair. On Nigel Farage, he delivered a blistering portrait of Farage as a Trump-loving, tax-avoiding, science-denying, NHS-dismantling corporate stooge, and warned that Labour now the dances to Farage tune. On migration, Polanski took a clear pro-migrant stance: migrants and refugees are welcome here. He also criticised Labour's move to prescribe Palestine action as draconian. On Gaza, the Greens will never be silent about what Polanski called the mass slaughter in Palestine. He described Labour's recognition of Palestinian statehood as cynical and morbid, arguing the UK is complicit through arms sales. On inequality, he called for a wealth tax on the richest 1%, framed politics as about taking back power from the tiny few, and promised to tackle living costs, defend the NHS, and challenge corporate power. On identity and rights, Polanski spoke about his Jewish family's history of migration and hiding identities, saying he'd changed his name back as an act of pride. He warned, the alarm bells of authoritarianism are ringing loud and clear. Labour's response: Labour pushed back hard, dismissing Polanski's rhetoric as divisive. He is sowing division and grievance. Labour framed itself as focused on a national renewal and delivering practical change rather than inflammatory rhetoric. Key terms to keep in mind: handmaidens, political metaphor suggests Labour is serving or enabling Reform's politics. Prescription, the official banning of a group as a terrorist organisation. Wealth tax, a tax on assets, property, shares, savings, not just income. Authoritarianism, a style of government that restricts freedoms and centralizes power. Why this matters: Polanski's speech highlights how smaller parties try to carve out distinct identities against both the governing centre and right-wing challengers. It exposes tensions between rights and security, migration policy, protest bans, digital ID proposals, and shows how foreign policy, here the Gaza conflict, becomes tightly bound to domestic political identity. The bigger question is strategic: can the Greens move beyond a handful of MPs and become a substantive parliamentary force? Exam-angle political themes: this speech connects to several political science themes: party competition and how minor parties challenge the big two, rights versus security in policy debates, ideological conflict between authoritarian and libertarian traditions in UK politics, and the question of whether smaller parties can shape national debates despite limited seats. Discussion questions: why does Polanski call Labour the handmaidens of Reform UK? What does that claim reveal about party competition? How does the Green Party stance on migration differ from Labour and Reform UK? What are the risks and opportunities for a party taking a strong stance on divisive foreign policy issues like Gaza? How might a wealth tax on the top 1% change UK politics and society? To what extent do smaller parties influence mainstream political debate in the UK? Closing: Polanski's Bournemouth speech was a clear bid to sharpen the Greens' profile and to push the party from protest to parliamentary politics. Whether his combative tone and bold policy demands translate into broader electoral success is the question that will shape the party's next moves and the headlines to come.